Hey Apex family, this is a completely no notice, unscripted video. I want to keep it brief. I'm just getting into the gym after working in the office and getting some lights on, so follow me around while I babble. Been thinking a lot about our students, as I do all the time, and I get to see a lot of different behaviors with students and families at scale, just because we serve hundreds of students every week. I see students who are athletes all the time. We have the full range. Athletic students, very gifted students, kids who don't need gymnastics physically so much because they are already gifted and strong and fit. They're just natural athletes. They don't need gymnastics physically as much as the student who's unathletic, less coordinated, less disciplined, etc. So why then do students who would do the best at gymnastics, the students who are physically gifted, tend to not stick with it? I see this very frequently. It's really sad, actually. I see it quite commonly that athletes who would be tremendous athletes and really any sport that they try, by the time they graduate high school, they've played 6 different sports for 2 years apiece, and now they're not really good at any of them, if that makes sense. And one of the things that I notice is that talented athletes, physically gifted, strong children, do not have to work as hard as kids who are less strong and less gifted and less physically talented. Every coach wants them because they're athletic. They get a year or 2 years in, the newness has worn off, they've kind of reached their ability level, and now it's time to put in the work and grind to actually increase their skill level at that particular sport. Well, that's not as fun. That's not as fun as being new and blowing everybody out of the water. Whether it happens all the time. Athlete starts a new sport, they're the best on the team. They're the best in the league. 2 years later, they're bored or they're frustrated because they have never learned how to enjoy the journey of making progress and developing their skills as an athlete in one particular sport or another. So I see this a lot. They will start gymnastics, and 6 months in, a year in, it's not as fun as it was, and it's a lot harder, and they decide, I'd like to try basketball. And so we do basketball, and they're very good. They have lots of potential. The coach loves them, star athlete. A year later, they're not the top anymore. And they're having to work really hard for all their progress. And that's just less fun than jumping into something new and being the best. So then they switch to soccer or swimming or rock climbing or football, whatever, track, whatever it is, shot put, and this happens again and again. And by the time the athlete is 9 or 10 years old, they've tried several different sports, which is not a problem. It's not a problem if a child has tried several different sports, but the motivation behind it, if it's because they don't like working hard, or if it's because they don't enjoy the journey, then we've got trouble. We're going to have a high schooler who will not want to do any sport because they're not really that good at any sports, even though they had incredible potential as a child. And so one of my biggest goals here at Apex is to teach love of fitness and activity and hard work, because that's what actually gets you to be good. If they learn those lessons here just by sticking with it, then they go do soccer later and be fantastic because they have the work ethic, they have the love of the game, so to speak, the game as getting better and making progress. Anyway, just wanted to share my thoughts with that. I see it a lot. It's super sad, and I want students to be able to go do whatever sport they are inclined to do later on. I want to give them the physical foundation here with gymnastics and tumbling, which is the best cross training they can possibly get. And I also want them to have the mental aspect of it too, to understand that progress takes work. It's okay that you spend several months sometimes trying to figure it out, or it feels like you're spinning your wheels. That's part of sticking with it, and then having that big breakthrough, that aha moment several months later, which is super painful to watch sometimes as a parent or as a coach. It can be expensive too. You're thinking, I'm paying all this money, nothing's happening. And but if they're working at it, if they're in an environment where they should be learning, then we just give it time. And that's the best thing that we could possibly do for them. I want my children to know that you're not gonna have your best practice every week, even every month. I spoke with an Olympian one time, Jonathan Horton. If any of you are familiar with him, fantastic athlete. I believe he just released his second book. Anyway, I asked him one time, I think he's been to the Olympics twice, maybe 3 times. I said, John, how many times a month do you go into the gym and train and feel like everything happens right? He said 2 to 3 times a month. And he was working out twice a day, 5 days a week or whatever. And 2 to 3 times a month would he have a practice where he felt like, oh man, everything is going right. And that's as one of the best athletes on the planet, an Olympic caliber athlete. So we should expect that kids don't have the best practice ever, and teach them that that's okay. So thanks for listening. Sorry it was kind of long and rambly, but it's on my heart. Love these kids, and I want them to be good at whatever they pick. Talk to you soon.